here we go.
Are you ready for the main event?
2 hits. They hitting you, you hitting the floor.
It's time for Boxing Bananas, brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Boxing Bananas, brought to you by Fight Bananas. What's going on, guys? Good to see y'all.
You too, sir.
What's going
And you,
on?
Johan.
What's going on? I feel like garbage right now, but I'm ready to talk some boxing, bro.
Johan,
What's wrong,
man? He's been
feel
drinking
this?
all day long. He's been on a bender. He's actually, you know how people do dry January?
He's doing what, January?
He's doing bender till December, where he's on a bender until December. That's how Johan gets down.
That's funny.
But yeah, brother, let's get into some boxing. For those listening, make sure you comment below to be featured live on the screen for any topics we're talking about, anything you want us to hit up on. You know, today I want to do a little bit of the state of boxing. You know what I mean? And I was wondering what I was going to call the show. I can't call it the state of boxing. I like that name, but I'm pretty sure that's what, like, wasn't that the HBO show for a while?
I think it's the ESPN show right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
What? No. The HBO
That's
show
what it is.
was the Fight Game with Jim Lampley.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have to come up. We'll have to brainstorm some ideas for whenever we do a kind of overall type of thing. But before we get into some of the topics, I want to get into some of the boxing news that we have. So I am going to share my screen here. First of all, I want to talk about something that His Excellency said, Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh. And this is something I've been kind of chirping about on the show. He said, we must now have it be normal to lose some fights in boxing. All the fighters want similar to the career of Floyd Mayweather, 0 losses. This can happen one time every 50, 60, 70 years. We need like the UFC model now where the champions are losing and winning. Muhammad Ali had lost 5 times and he's still the legend. What are your thoughts, boys?
I agree 100%.
Personally, I mean, I think that in boxing, I mean, you're kind of seeing it a little bit. Personally, in boxing, you're not losing stock if you're losing a high profile fight, really. I mean, you're only losing stock if you're Devin Haney and then you start creating a lawsuit and saying that you got assaulted in the fight. But in reality, I mean, people want to see big fights. People want to see, the best fight the best. Whoever loses. But I don't think it creates I don't think it ruins your career. I mean, if you look at like the guys who bounce back from a loss, I mean, Caleb Plant is bigger than he's ever been. I mean, Ryan Garcia's stock was bigger, heading into the Devin Haney fight rather than the Gervonta Davis fight, just because, after the fight, he still wanted to fight, the best, and he wasn't scared to, he had nothing to lose at that point. So I think that, what Turkey is doing is very, 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 I think important for boxing, and just the moves that he's been making lately, I think he's bringing boxing to a better state.
Yeah, most definitely. Real quick, we got El Presidente in the house, David Van Auken, the boys. What's up, brother? Good to have you tuning into the show. But no, man, I agree with you completely. I think that's the way it is, and especially when you see now guys like Daniel Dubois. Guy has 2 losses on his record now, and they weren't, great losses. But look at the way he's bounced back, and look at how much more his stock has risen. You brought up Caleb Plant as a great example. I would even say, look at Caleb Plant's last fight. Trevor McCumbee, relatively unknown. Bro, next time Trevor McCumbee fights, I'm tuning in. Off of a loss, I'm tuning into that guy fight. So that's the thing. Like, I would much rather take a fighter like that who, might be coming off of a loss or might not have the chance of winning the fight, than tuning into, somebody who's undefeated, for example, like a Shakur. I mean, you know what you're going to get. It's almost two different products at that point. So I like the way boxing's going with Turkey Al-Sheikh. Definitely. I got another story here for us, which is kind of bittersweet. We got an announcement. This was, a little bit older news, but we haven't talked about it. The announcement of retirement of Vasily Lomachenko. It kind of sucks. You know what I mean? I wanted to see some of these unification fights. I definitely would have liked to see the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, but Lomachenko's done his thing. It's a shame that in his career, a lot of people thought he got robbed against Haney.
He got robbed. It's going to go down in history that he got robbed against Haney. I don't care what anybody says. Let's fight.
And then El Presidente boxing in 2025 is going to be bananas. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Especially with what's going on now. Like we just talked about Turkey Al-Sheikh, bro. He bought the Ring magazine. I mean, we were talking about for a while on this show that like, oh, what are they going to do about the belts and this and that? I'm like, bro, there is one belt that's the best belt, and it's the Ring magazine title, but it's just under bad management. And now you have the guy that's making all the top fights. Excuse John, guys, there's an earthquake at his house right now. But you have a guy who's making the top fights, and now he has the belt behind it, bro. Like he was talking about, it needs to be kind of on a UFC model. He has the ability to do it now, and now he's talking about buying out the promotions and whatnot. I mean, I think in the next couple of years, between now and 2030, essentially, if you're not on board with Riyadh season, then everyone's going to know, like, okay, you're kind of on the second tier of boxing.
Yeah, agreed.
But so like I said, Vasily Lomachenko's out of the game. I mean, he went out as the IBF world champion. But yeah, you know what I mean? So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
It's bittersweet for sure. Like, I'm glad he's going out on his own terms, but I enjoyed watching him. I think he added a flair to the game without talking. Do you know what I mean? Like, he never really talked a lot of trash. He just told what his opinion, what he thought about the fight. But he was able to add flair by his fighting style and his movement and the way he, utilized the footwork. I mean, essentially, him and Usyk came from the same background, same coaches and stuff like that. And Usyk is just doing it at a heavyweight level, whereas Lomachenko was doing it against the fastest guys in the world. You know what I mean? He also had a defensive style that was attractive because he counterpunched so well, and he counterpunched combos. He didn't just counterpunch one shots, two, or something like that. He was able to slip, boom, pop, pop, slip again, bang, bang, and do it. And it was very fun to watch, no matter who he was fighting, winning or losing. He always put on a great fight. So in my eyes, it's very bittersweet, but at the same time, I'm very happy that he's going out on his own terms. But we're going to miss some good fights. I truly think Gervonta is the only guy in that division that can beat him just because of his power. I think Lomachenko still beats everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, especially at 135 right now. I mean, we had a lot of players at 135, but the fights just didn't materialize. I mean, he fought Teofimo. Teofimo beat him. But other than that, there was like, oh, it's the new Four Kings, and then they didn't fight. You know what I mean? Besides Ryan and Tank, but that was a whole nother thing too that we can get into in a little bit. But as far as boxing news, I got some more boxing news, but I want to talk about specifically fights coming up. And one of the first ones on our radar, I think it's for next week. We got Inoue, the monster, coming back.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
So here's my thing with this fight, right? With Inoue, I mean, it's like, who is there to even fight? You know what I'm saying? Unless he goes up again. I was like almost making jokes to myself that like his fight just fell out with Sam Goodman. And I feel like beforehand, everyone's kind of like, all right, well, who does this guy fight? I don't know, bro. We got to get someone good, man. And they were like, like that meme of the Fantastic Four. Say that again. Like, oh yeah, we'll get this guy Goodman. And then that's who they got. And then that fell out. So now we got him fighting another Japanese guy. Am I going to tune into it? 100%, just to see the skills on display. And we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? I didn't think, a lot of people didn't think Louis Neary really had a chance, and he put him on the floor. So thoughts, boys. Johan, what do you think?
I really think, I'm not gonna lie, I think that Sam Goodman is like a fraud. I think that, him pulling out twice after saying for Inoue to vacate the title is really really
Sus?
so it's really sus, if I'm being completely honest with you, man. It's interesting, man. I'm gonna tune in just because it's Naoya Inoue. I mean, again, like, I think in terms of boxing, man, he's like the only boxer right now that kind of wows me with every performance. Maybe because it's just early in the morning and it's the first thing I see. But but man, like, when we talk about this matchup, I mean, even with Louis Neary, man, he was a top 10 contender in the Ring magazine. This guy's like not even on like a rank. It's like barely on the rankings in a sanctioning body, man. So like, I really don't know what to think about it, because honestly, like, in this fight, we can either see two things. We can either see Naoya Inoue get it done fast, or you might see him do something similar to what he did against Haney and try to implement, try out new strategies, maybe try to fight defensive, maybe try to fight southpaw or something, just because he's trying to get those tests, man. I really don't have an idea of who he can fight at super bantamweight, man. The only other guy that may be an interesting matchup right now is MJ Akhmadaliev, and that's really it. I mean, I don't think Sam Goodman is a stylistically a good matchup. It's only because he's undefeated. But I mean, right now, like, is it featherweight? Is featherweight going to be the division where he sees a lot more competition? Is Junto Nakatani going to be the guy that really brings in the seats, in Japan against Inoue? Man, it's really hard, because right now the run that the monster is on, it's almost like he's untouchable.
Oh, he is untouchable. I mean, like you just said, there's not really anyone in his division that can compete with him. And it's not his fault that he's that good. I mean, it's his fault because he worked for it, but it's not his fault that he's that much better than all of these opponents. And honestly, yeah, every fighter has the puncher's chance. We've seen that before. I understand that, not knocking anybody who steps in the ring you respect. But does he deserve an easy one or a softball pitch? I mean, if anybody does, he fights whoever they can put in front of him that agrees to it. So if you're going to get an easy one, they're going to accept it. Let's go put him on the mat, get a payday, move on with it, and then decide if you really want to move up or not. And after that, if you do move up, great, but really decide, because as much as I love people dare to be great, there's weight categories for a reason, right? And he isn't on the taller side of the division. He's not on the shorter side. He's kind of like the perfect size for that division, in the sense the higher he goes up, the smaller the height is going to be for him majority of the time, I would say, in some instances, right? And it's not like his frame. He has broad shoulders, but he doesn't really have long arms. So everything he's using is footwork and distance and everything like that. That's going to become even more imperative as he moves up in weight. So it's one of those things where, we got to go from there. Quick question. Can you hear the dogs?
A little bit. Yeah, I can hear them.
Okay, 1 second. Please stop. Stop.
He's going to make them fight.
Oh, I was. They were already doing that. They already started a boxing match. My two little basset hound thingies loving going at it and being talkative. But no, I think you're out. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, then they're on the right program.
For real. This little one right here is Zoe. But Johan, you're so right though, man. Like, there's not really much out there. Who are you going to put with him besides him going up in weight to featherweight? And like you said, putting the other Japanese fighter in the seats, making them go at it. Is it the right move right now, or that because, like I said, going up in weight, he's what? How many weight categories has already gone up? 3,
I mean, like 4. But the
4.
thing is, man, is not to knock him or any of the lower weight fighters, but it's just there's just so many weight divisions down there. And then I brought it up before where when you look at like the average size of like an adult male, your pool of your biogenetic pool of human beings that are that size is a lot smaller as it is. Then your percentage of those who are going to be professional boxers is a lot smaller. Elite level professional boxers is super small, and then you're going to cut that up every 3 pounds. That's where I'm kind
Exactly.
of like, you know what I mean? So, and then that's where it gets into like a lot of people are like, oh, I think he's pound for pound number one compared to Crawford and Canelo and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, but if it's because if we're talking accolades, then I get it, but I feel like going up 7 pounds is a better deal at 147 than going up 4.
It
Which,
is
like I
a big.
said, not to
It
knock
is a
him,
bigger deal.
but it's just like I said, the biogenetic pool of human beings is a lot smaller. So it's
So then I have a question for you, Ray, on that because you said like talking about pound for pound. So when you view pound for pound, how are you judging that aspect of boxing when it comes down to that? Like, so like I know like in a way, people will say he's pound for pound. We say, at one point Lomo was up there, Canelo was up there, all these different weight categories were up there. We had Tyson Fury up there at one point. How do you personally judge a pound for pound and look at it?
I mean, obviously the skills, part of it goes into the eye test. I feel like the accolades come into it. I feel like there's a few different determining factors. The accolades is a big importance, but it also has to be the competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy to
Yeah.
look to pass the eye test when you're going against guys that like you're just completely outclassing. But when you get a
Agreed.
guy like Crawford who goes into a on paper 50-50 fight against Earl Spence, who everyone for years was saying, oh, he's going to beat Crawford, he's going to beat Crawford. And then not only do you beat him, but you just completely demolish the guy. That's where it's like, and you were the guy that came up in weight over the years, obviously. But that's where I'm like, bro, where Inoue doesn't have anything comparable to that. So that's
Agreed.
where I'm kind of like, let's cut it out with all of that. But like I said, not to knock Inoue, he's gonna do his thing, and I'm gonna be tuning into it at whatever AM in the morning, just like that Jaya Pataya fight last week or whenever it was. But moving forward, so we have somebody else that there's been people that have said, oh, maybe he should fight this name, right? And it's a guy by the name of Tank Davis. Now, do I think that fight ever gets made? No, but I've heard people talk about it. I have articulated my gripes about Tank Davis several times, and I'm going to do it again. Tank
Have
Davis
at it,
has a
sir.
fight coming up against Lamont Roach. Here's the issue. Ever since Tank Davis 4 years ago and some change decided, hey, we're going to make him a pay-per-view star, he's fought in pay-per-view fights time and time again that nobody asked for. Essentially what they're doing with him and what he's doing, because he's complicit in it, is you are taking advantage of your fan base. You are holding your fan base hostage. You are robbing your fan base because you're supposed to be this great talent, this great fighter. And then when it comes to these fights that you're doing, either you're doing fights that nobody asked for, you're fighting, or there's some sort of stipulation. You're fighting, 130-pound fighters going up to 135, or you're fighting, bigger guys coming down to 147 or 135. For example, I brought this up before, and I'm going to show this one again. People want to say, oh, that didn't matter. The
Oh,
rehydration,
it
the weight
mattered.
clause. Bro, come on now.
Oh, it mattered. It definitely mattered.
Like this guy right here, I would be like, you know what? he'd still probably whoop me, but I'd at least, fancy my chances a little bit more than the guy on the left, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, 100%. One looks way healthier.
So,
Like just looking off that fact, look at how healthy the Ryan looks in the left picture compared to the right.
so that being said, we also have another story that popped up is Gervonta Davis attacks Terrence Crawford's wife in heated social media discussion. Apparently, they were going back and forth because Gervonta's saying, "Y'all think he's chasing greatness." He goes, "I see somebody mad. They wasn't invited to the Ring Magazine gala. Y'all think he's chasing greatness. He's not. He's not. That's what he has to do to make decent money. Fuck boys." He goes, "First thing a dumb rich person say to another rich person is, I got more money than you." And then Tank said, and he got like 8 kids and his wife 380 pounds. But yeah, buddy, got to work overtime. My issue with this too, like I said, I've got multiple issues with Tank. Another issue is, bro, don't start chirping to a guy who's, if y'all met in the ring, would put the hands on you. If these guys met in the ring, who's winning that fight?
Definitely think Terrence Crawford.
That's a tough fight. Terrence is winning, bro.
Terrence is winning that fight, bro. And here's the thing too. Remember when there was all these these rumors and whatnot of, oh, Tank might fight Keith Thurman at a 145 catch weight, bro. If Terrence Crawford right now said, bro, I will cut down to 145, I'll make it happen. Let's get in the ring. You think Tank and his team are taking that fight?
No.
Exactly. So even if Terrence would, and that's the thing, we're not his team, so we can't really say, but we all know what the answer is. No, they're still not going to take that. So even if Terrence were to be like, yo, I'll give you that slight advantage of the catch weight, he still wouldn't do it. So, bro, why are you yapping? I feel like I had mentioned about the Inoue thing. What if, which is never going to happen. Also, we're talking about stuff that's not going to ever happen. But what if Tank were to try out his own medicine for a chance? And how about you fight Inoue at a catch weight with a rehydration clause? Or not even a catch weight. Fight him at 130 with a rehydration clause. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that fight happens?
No.
No. Why? It's because of Tank. Tank's not going to do that. So what he's going to do is he's going to keep extorting his fan base with fights nobody wants to see. And now at this point, everybody's going over to Riyadh season. And now we just seen with the Lamont Roach, Tank's running out of people to kind of do this whole like little thing that he's doing with.
Man, he's going to pro box, guys. That's the thing. He's now going to pro box.
I mean, literally, yeah. Lamont Roach's last fight was at DC on pro box.
Like, I don't know. It's just it's crazy to me because, like, we just mentioned it in the beginning of the show. Turkey Al-Sheikh is trying to, get away from that Floyd Mayweather model of, keeping your O. But, like, it seems like Gervonta Davis is like the last real boxer out here that's still keeping that alive and well, man. And it's pretty frustrating because, now you're looking at it, this man Tank on social media being kind of erratic to promote the fight, saying the fight is canceled and stuff, just so that there's eyes heading into the fight. It's crazy, man, that the fact that you have to he has
to start making PR stunts, even like this. Like this is potentially a PR stunt just to promote just so people talk about him, because other than that, bro, I mean, especially with this fight coming up, dude is irrelevant.
Yeah, but it's not surprising. Like it's the Floyd Mayweather model. Who'd he learn from? I mean, literally, Floyd would talk about anybody in any press when he was retired just to keep his name in it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's the same. It's the same feel. It's the exact same feel.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things. But I feel like the difference with Tank is that he has these impressive victories. But it's like, bro, it's like you almost have to put an asterisk on it. It's like, okay, yeah. You knocked out a guy that was a 130-pound champion at 135. You knocked out a guy at 135, but you put a rehydration clause on him. You knocked out Ryan Garcia, who looks like the skeleton version.
Yeah. Yeah, and at least with Floyd, man, before he became money, his resume spoke for itself without the asterisks, man. Like there was years where he was just the B-side pay-per-view guy, and like there's a whole extensive career besides that, man. Really with Gervonta, it's almost like he was I mean with Mayweather Promotions, man, he was almost like, kind of built up to be this guy without really having to really test himself against the truly the best. Like, yeah, there's big names, but there's like Ray said, it's just an asterisk, man. There's always, a certain condition that comes with that.
Yeah, and that's what I've said before quite a few times is a lot of these dudes they want to be Money Mayweather, but without putting in the work of Pretty Boy Floyd. And that's what it is. Especially, as much as people want to hate on Mayweather, he put in the work first. He had that whole like essential first career of being Pretty Boy Floyd. Went to Atlantic City, put a beat down on Arturo Gotti. You know what I mean? Stuff performances like that. Corrales, like demolishing them. And these other guys, it's like they have a couple fights on Top Rank, like Shakur, a couple fights on Top Rank where he looks good, and then all of a sudden, it's a snooze fest. Like literally, people are falling asleep on a Thursday night. So that's just kind of where I'm at with this guy. If everything has to be on his terms, and I feel like that train is going to come to an end. I know recently he said something about, which is probably another PR stunt. Oh, I'm going to retire soon. All right, bro. Nobody's going to miss you. I guarantee it. Guarantee it, brother. No one's going to miss you, bro. But yeah, man. So that being said, let's move on to the next topic. We got a fight coming up on. Hold on. We got a fight coming on February 1st. Where's it at? Here we go. We got the Battle of the Davids. David versus David.
Yeah, that's a great one.
A banger, bro. This right here is gonna be a freaking bang, bro.
Does it go the distance?
Nah, this doesn't go 12 rounds.
No.
Probably. Let's go. Tough, man.
They're tough, man. I think I don't know. I don't even know if it goes 9, to be honest. This is a good fight. I think this is a dangerous fight for both of them too.
Yeah, for I don't know, man. I'm pretty split on it. I feel like David Morrell's last performance wasn't the best, but I also feel like he kind of went a little bit hard on Hot Rod to begin the fight because he was trying to make it like a breakthrough, sensational performance, some sort of like knockout that he was trying to make happen, and that didn't come to fruition. But I guess the same could be said about David Benavidez's last performance. Everyone thought, oh, he's going to be, the monster. And he looked really good. He put up a great fight, but it didn't seem like his punches really did anything to Gosvick.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I think it was them kind of adjusting to 175 because that was both their, light heavyweight debuts. So I think they were really just adjusting to that. But in terms of their game plan, I mean, they looked like how they usually do. I mean, Benavidez really, put the pressure on Gvozdyk. It's just Gvozdyk was really tough. And Morrell, again, traditional Cuban style was kind of, putting the work on Hot Rod. But again, Hot Rod is a gamed opponent, always has been, man. It's really going to be interesting, though, because in this fight, they're both going to see, styles that they've never seen before. I mean, Morrell's going to see the hardest hitter he's ever faced, the fastest punch he's ever going to see. And Benavidez is going to see a guy who, the most skillful guy he's ever going to see, the guy who's going to be the smartest in-ring IQ, the one who sets the most traps and stuff.
The one who's just about as big as him as well, because
exactly,
Benavidez has always been a little bit of a weight bully.
Yeah, and I mean in this fight, I mean if you've seen like their face-offs and kind of like, man, just like the pre-fight like beef going through, man, they look like the same height. So it's gonna be crazy. And bro, like I don't know. I've been leaning a little more towards David Morrell in this one, but I've seen a lot of people talk about Benavidez just because of championship experience. But I'm like, man, like the intangibles that David Morrell brings into the ring, man. It's almost like I don't know with someone who's as like heavy footed as David Benavidez. I think David Morrell can really outbox him in this fight.
especially if he comes in with the right game plan. We got a comment from my man No Chill MMA. I have avoided watching boxing my entire life. Is now a good time to jump into it? I would say so, bro. Like right now, it's things are finally starting to come together. Fights are starting to get made. The biggest thing in boxing is it's been very frustrating being a boxing fan because the fights don't get made. You see these more of tune-up fights all the time, and then they talk about, oh, I'm gonna fight this guy, and then it takes 4 years for it to fight. Now with Saudi Arabia, Turkey Al Sheikh, Riyadh season behind it, and we're gonna get into that card in a minute too. So Joe, be on standby because you're gonna see we got. I mean, they're essentially putting UFC level cards together for boxing now, and it's happening more often. So that's something that's really great about what's going on in boxing right now, I would say. But John, your thoughts on David versus David?
My thing with that one is, do you guys think they're both going up? I don't feel like their power has transferred fully yet. I think they have to develop that a little bit more at that higher weight in the sense of being used to being up there and fighting at that weight, not being able to like hitting someone else weighing heavier the night that you guys are fighting rather than hitting someone that's, like you said, a weight bully smaller. So I think that's the interesting tell there is who has got has learned how to transition their power better and everything like that throughout the last year since their fights. But I kind of agree with Johan. David is very heavy footed. He's planted. He doesn't move a lot. That's why the fight with Caleb Plant was so close for such a long time, was for the fact that he didn't stand still, or he stood still, and Caleb was able to move on him. I think David Morrell can do that, but the other side of the coin is he stands still because his hand speed's so damn fast, for his size and everything like that, and he does hit genuinely hard for just a natural boxer. So you have those two things to worry about when someone can stand there and hit you quickly and stand still, and he's heavy-handed with it. That at any moment you can get caught, obviously. Then, but I actually give it a coin flip. I know David Benavidez has the more experience per se, as far as professional experience on the side. I think it's
With
18 wins
Yeah.
with big fights. Yeah. Even though it's that close, I still think it's a coin flip because I think the skill of David Morrell is there. It's top tier for sure. It's super hard to put a guy like Hot Rod away. Hot Rod has always been tough, so you're absolutely right about that. Johan has been absolutely a beast of a man his whole entire career. Is not like someone that goes away in any kind of way. Just like David fought, I can't pronounce the last name.
Vosdick.
Gozalnik, yeah, whatever. Glozdik. That dude got beat by one dude and one dude only before that fight, right? And got finished. And other than that dude wasn't going to go away. So they both
That dude finished everyone besides Bivol.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And exactly. So it's like, to me, they both had great tests. It's who can take that test and take it to the next level when they face each other, really was what it come down to me. It's like, what did you take away more to make your game better when you moved up in that weight? Who makes those little adjustments better and does that? Because other than that, to me, it's a straight up coin flip. Whoever does that is going to win. And I know that's generalized as shit, but I don't really know how to look at it any other way.
Yeah, like especially what you said about how Hot Rod is so difficult to put away. And that's what I was saying about Morrell. It's like people were like, oh, he doesn't really look the best at 175. And I was like, yeah, I mean, no diddy. He kind of blew his load at the beginning of the fight. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, he was trying to put him away and was trying to like make a statement. And then after, Hot Rod didn't go down, it was kind of like, all right, I think he kind of wasted some of his stamina bar in that one. But
agreed.
But the good thing about it now, especially what No Chill MMA was saying, was a lot. The issue in boxing was that we weren't getting 50-50 fights. The fact that John is saying like this fight is a coin flip that's a great thing for boxing.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's going to be good, and especially if it's a good fight, I feel like it'll raise the I mean, it could raise the value. I don't know if I want to say of either fighter, because David Benavidez is kind of on a hype train right now, and I'm not saying it's unwarranted, but if he loses, it gets a little bit derailed. If Benavidez is generally unknown, I mean, not Benavidez, Morrell is generally unknown to other people who aren't, hardcore boxing fans. So if he puts up a really good fight, that could raise his stock just kind of like it did with Plant, even though Plant wasn't unknown.
I agree, but I think you're right though when you say it will raise both people's stocks, and it can raise it a couple ways, right? If David Benavidez and David Morrell are in a drag down banger, right? Which we think it won't go the distance, which I completely understand that wholeheartedly. But if they're in a banger and they both battle each other and it comes down to 12 rounds and someone gets to the decision, no matter who's the decision to, their stock can both go up that direction, right? Because we'll want to see another one. You know what I mean? We'll want to see it again if it's that good, that close. You know what I mean? If it turns into a war like it could be. But also, close. Yeah, you know what I mean? It could be just a back and forth. One round is one guy. I mean, it could look like a Rocky fight for all we know. It could just go back and forth, right? Yeah. And then, but also because David Morrell is such an unknown to the casuals and majority of some of the U.S. fans and stuff like that still, if he goes in there and he just fights a tough fight, and even if he loses to David Benavidez, right, his stock is going to raise one way or another. So that side of it is already there. He's going to raise one way or another. Unless he gets flatlined in the first 6 rounds, like flatlined and outclassed, that's the only time it's going to go bad for him. If he takes David Benavidez 12 rounds, whatever the decision may be, his stock is going to go up. Yeah, because nobody knows him, like you said. Mm-hmm. David needs the hope that David Benavidez needs to hope 2 ways. That David Morrell is that dude to challenge him, to give him that epic fight moments and everything like that back and forth and get that win. Or he needs to be like, David Morrell is the guy that I'm going to knock out in this weight class for the first time, and that's how I'm going to raise my stock, right? If that happens for David Morrell in the later rounds, I still think he gets his stock raised because he got seen by more people. Yeah. So I don't think he's wrong anyway, but it can falter for David Benavidez more than David Morrell. I think David Morrell is making out like a bandit with this one on fight 19, is it? Right? Is this fight 12. 19 for him or 20?
12.
12? Oh, he's making out like a fucking unbelievable bandit then, right? This is nothing but stock raising stuff for David Morrell. 100%.
David Morrell, his
11-0.
box rec is 11-0, bro.
Okay, so my bad. For some reason, I had 17 in my head.
Yeah, no, he's only had 11 pro fights, and he's in this position, and he's only 26. What the hell? He's young, so he could be getting better and better and better.
Crazy. This is crazy.
But yeah, man, I think the thing about the Benavidez stock issue is that Benavidez has had to maneuver so much to even get into almost like the position he's in now. He's tried to get this Canelo fight. He hasn't been able to get it. He's moved up to 175. He's not getting a title fight at 175. I mean, besides this one, it's for the WBA regular, but that's a fake belt. It's essentially an interim. It's like a interim unification essentially with the secondary belt at WBC and WBA.
Almost like a participation award.
Yeah, I mean, really, this fight should mean whoever wins fights the winner of Bivol Better Beef 2, assuming that, if Bivol wins, they don't run a trilogy. But at the same time, bro, I feel like there's always that Canelo factor. If Canelo just goes, hey, I'm doing one more at 175, I'm putting my all into it, I want to fight either of those guys, I think he gets that fight before either of them. So, so that's absolutely what I'm saying. David Benavidez has had to work so hard to get to the level that he's at, that if he gets derailed, it's detrimental for his career. It'll be such a big building back to be able to be the monster again that everyone is hyping him up to be. You know, possibly warranted, but which I would say I would argue to that point. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But speaking of, better be a versus B Vol 2, bro. This is where, again, I go back to the comment of no chill MMA. I have avoided watching boxing my entire life. Is now a good time to jump into it, especially with this card coming up right here. Dude, hold on. Here we go.
It might be the best card I've ever seen, honestly.
First of all, we go down here. Buatsi versus Smith, WBO World Interim Light Heavyweight Championship. There's another interim title for the light heavyweight, which if Buatsi wins, he might be able to be like, hey, I should be next, right? Callum Smith already got that opportunity, and he failed miserably. Then after that, we got Zhang versus Caballel. Bro, Caballel, correct me if I'm wrong, coming off of knocking out Frank Sanchez.
Yeah, crazy fight.
Coming out, knocking out Frank Sanchez. Big Bang Zhang is, he's him. Coming off of knocking out Deontay Wilder. That's going to be a great fight. And the thing, too, is, bro, Zhang is huge. Caballel, he's a big heavyweight, but he's not the biggest heavyweight. Zhang is the biggest heavyweight. Maybe arguably Bacoli. Which, to be fair, I would have really liked to see that fight. I'm not mad at this fight. I'm not mad at this fight at all. Then we got, for big fight at 154, the WBC World Interim Super Welterweight Championship. Virgil Ortiz Jr., undefeated, versus Israel Madrimov, coming off of that performance against Terrence Crawford. Another example of how even off of a loss, your stock gets raised. Nobody knew who Madrimov was. Then he comes off of a fight with Terrence where Terrence didn't really look the best. Madrimov looked good. Even though he lost, I would say Madrimov's stock definitely went up. And I'm going to do a sidebar on this specific card real quick at this point. 154, obviously Terrence is the WBA champion. The IBF champion is my guy, Murtaza Zaraliev, who just came, another guy who was completely, basically unknown. And, I mean, probably got the second place as far as giving out ass whoopings in 2024.
And we saw that live.
Bro, live.
We saw that live.
All three of us.
Yeah, we were in the house. We saw that live, and we were shocked. We were like, oh, my. And then afterwards,
we got knocked out 6 times. Yeah. 6 times.
It's wild.
Yeah,
what the hell?
What, 3 rounds?
Oh, in 3 rounds, 6 times. What the fuck?
But that being
Tough
said,
as hell.
so now we have the WBO and the WBC titles, which are held by Sebastian Fundora, Slenderman. And there's been this talks of him fighting Earl Spence.
That fight's off.
For God knows why. And now we got... Boom. Sebastian Fundora, Earl Spence title fight is now officially off. After it was planned for October, then moved to March, it's finally off. My thoughts are good. It's a fight that Earl Spence didn't deserve. I mean, I get it. He's Spence, but coming back, moving up in weight, and then you get to fight for the unified title when there's players in this division that deserve it more, I didn't like it. I'm glad this fight's off, and I want Fundora to now be back in the unification picture. Johan, what are your thoughts on this fight being off, and what are your thoughts on the unification picture? What would you like to see next?
I wasn't surprised. I was just waiting for when the announcement was going to be made, man. I mean, dude, Earl Spence at this point is like, I don't know who's injured. I mean, I'm
goods, bro.
I'm assuming it's Errol Spence, but he is damaged goods, bro. Like 2 eye surgeries, constant injuries. Like, man, like Like, I don't know if he's gonna want at this point. Like, but I don't think like when he comes back to boxing, he should be fighting for a title, man. Like, I mean, you know, we talk about stocks, right? And usually, like when the best fight the best, stocks go up. Bro, his stock dropped like instantly, man. Man, it was like freaking Joanne's Fabric, man, going into bankruptcy, bro.
Yup.
Like for real. Like that was where I was like, damn, like I've never seen someone like literally do a complete 180 when it comes to like perception in boxing. I was surprised that they were still trying to make this fight. I mean, you
I
took
know.
almost you're taking almost a whole year off of Sebastian Fondora's career after having a star making performance against Tim Tszyu just for this freaking fight, man. And especially in a division in 154 where it is hot right now. It is
Popping
so
off.
hot. You look at top 10, man, and like that top 10, which is Ring Magazine top 10, it is stacked, man. All those matchups would be tough for Fundora, bro. I mean, even fucking what was it Brian Mendoza? I mean, Mendoza beat Fundora at one point,
Knocked
man.
him out.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, man, it is hot, and like, I'm just glad this is done because now you have that chance to make those bigger fights. Even if it's not unification, he can make bigger fights and keep this division rolling, man. Because I feel like a fight like this really puts the division at a standstill because you're giving it to a guy who really hasn't even deserved it, who hasn't even had a fight at at 154. Terrence Crawford was the exception because he was
He
undisputed.
won the fight.
He won. Yeah, he won the fight and he's
Yeah.
undisputed. But like, to give it to the guy who lost it and lost it in very embarrassing fashion,
Terrible.
it's crazy to me. It's crazy. But man, for Fundora, man, now you can look at these big fights. You can look at maybe the Murtazalia fight as an option if you want to get a third belt. I mean, he's the guy that like
But that's a tough
everybody's
fight
looking
too.
at.
Murtazalia, I mean, you talk about putting yourself on the map. That guy put himself on the map, bro.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, but but the thing is like they're all going to be tough fights. This is like I think 154. Besides heavyweight, 154 is probably the toughest division in boxing right now.
It's tough, bro. John, what do you think?
I think you're right. I think this comes down to a very simple explanation for me of why this fight was even being tried to be made, and this is where boxing is getting better, and we're happy that they're starting to make fights, but politics still come into the sport way too much, and this was a politic move. Would you rather have Earl Spence with titles or Fundora, who nobody really knows very well, with titles? I mean, it's a very simple explanation. They want they wanted Spence to get titles back because he'll sell more people, and in the market he'll get more backing and everything like that. Where people don't really know Fundora that well. If you want to know the truth, they probably recognize his sister more than him right now for the fact that she had that emphatic knockout, and females are less, there's less of them doing that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So and that's not a knock on Fundora in any way. He's very talented. He's a champion for a reason, but this is to me just a straight political type fight made, and they finally backed away off of it. I think that's great. Everything you guys said on top of that, I think is perfect because that's exactly what should happen. It's a hotbed right now, 154. I mean, we're having new challengers coming through, and they're proving themselves. Like Merlaleve, he proved himself easily. I mean, good lordy, and Tim Tszyu still proved himself how tough he is. You know, and that's why, to me, my favorite fight on the Bibble card is Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Israel Madrimov. I think that's my favorite actual fight of it all. Bibble, yes, I'm not counting the main event. Everything else besides the main event, I'll obviously better be even Bibble or the main event for a reason. But personally, on the undercard, any other one, my favorite one is Israel Madrimov versus Virgil Ortiz. I think anybody who stands in front of Madrimov is going to have a hard time if you've never fought a guy who moves the way he moves and how he does, and athletic and explosive as he can be. And he can do it. You saw against Crawford for 12 rounds. So it's
Yeah.
not like he really gets tired. He understands his idea and everything like that. So this, to me, this is one hell of a fight. This is going to be fun to watch.
No, most definitely. And I know Madrimov, like he was double scheduled on BoxRec. He was supposed to fight Bochuk.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight him, and he was like, "Oh, well, I can't," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure. It's because you got a better fight. You ended up fighting the winner of the Ortiz versus Bochuk. But I mean, Bochuk's still in play too. So he's still there, kind of just waiting for something to happen, which isn't a bad position. But yeah, man, I think there's moves to be made. I'd like to see Murtazarev slide in and make a unification for the 3 titles, and I think that would give it to Murtazarev because, bro, like Sebastian, to be honest with you, and that was the thing about Tim Tszyu, where people were almost thinking, Tim Tszyu is still him, even though he lost, because it was kind of a fluke loss. Like those first couple rounds, it looked like it was going to be a short night for Tszyu until he got that cut from that elbow on the top of his head that just poured blood in his face. It was like he was fighting with a handicap. So we'll see what happens with that one. Next fight, we got the WBC World Middleweight Championship, Adames versus Shiraz. This is that's a good fight for Shiraz. I like Shiraz. He's another guy who's really big for the division. I think I'm going to give it to him, but I think that'll be a good fight too. I don't know if it's, too early for him, but I think he could step up to the plate really and make it happen. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really not sure if it's too early, man, because he's literally like number 2 ranked in the middleweight division. This is
because there's like no one in the middleweight division right now. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Adames is world champion. It's just anybody besides Janny Beck. I get it. It's like it's kind of it's kind of thin, but I think this is going to be a tough matchup because Adames, though he doesn't have the prettiest style, it's a frustrating style for any boxer just because he's able to just kind of keep distance and he's a real good defensive fighter. But with Hamzat, bro, he's just so big for the division, has so much power. It's almost like Fundora. Like, how the fuck are you making this weight? Like, it doesn't even make sense. But I think this is his coming out party. I mean, I think he stops Adames in 6 rounds, becomes a world champion, and then we talk about him, making bigger fights at, a division that really needs, star power.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's gonna be a good one, man. And then the co main event is one of those fights where it's like, with the UFC fight where you have that card where it's like Rose versus Carla 2, and everyone's kind of like, what's going on with this? Let's go get another drink. Let's go chat with the homies, something like that. That's gonna be the Shakur Stevenson fight, bro. I swear, dude. This guy, John, how many times have I been like, yo, I'm gonna give him one more chance, and then he goes out there and puts on another snooze fest. He prices himself out of fights and then puts on snooze fest, and then somehow now these guys are still like, you know what? They see value in him somehow, but if he goes out there and puts on another snooze fest, bro, on this type of stage,
Turkey's going to be like this.
His career is done, bro.
I don't think they see value in him as much as they see talent, because he's not. You can't say he's not skillful and talented, right? Like he's 100% elite. Excuse me, but he's just not fighting to finish people, to hurt people, to like be to understand that it's
John. You didn't have to finish the rest of that sentence. He's just not fighting.
Yeah, he's literally putting himself.
He's not.
So no, you're right. So my point behind this is I don't think they see value as much as they see, hey man, this dude's kind of elite. Let's see if he wants to turn that switch on or not, right?
Yeah.
And that'll be up to him. Now it is there. It's there. That's 100% there.
Bro, it's crazy.
Bro.
It's easy to think.
No, go ahead, Johan, because I'm about to go on a rant. So,
bro, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think that, bro. We went from his performance from against Jamel Herring, which was like, arguably the biggest ass whooping he's ever put on somebody, to, bro, like 3 straight fights where like I fall asleep after round 2.
Legit.
Like, it's kind of crazy.
He's like setting the record for punches not thrown.
Dude, and like with this fight with Floyd Schofield, bro, I mean, Kid Austin's a good prospect, but bro, he looked terrible in his last fight. Got knocked down and everything. It's like I'm not even. Besides the name value, I'm not really looking like I'm not excited stylistically about this matchup because neither of them really are like exciting at this point. So it's like, bro, like I might go cook some meal prep food, honestly, for like 36
Preheat the
minutes.
oven. You just preheat the oven during the Shiraz fight, and
Oh,
then there
I
you
should be
go.
I should be done by the Daniel Dubois fight.
There you, perfect.
I'm just gonna take my dogs for a walk.
Yeah. Now
Just
I
gonna take my
would
dogs for a walk.
the thing is basically to go off of what you were saying, Professor, is that Shakur has talent, and that's what's frustrating about it. It's not like he's fighting it the style that he's fighting because he's not good and he has to like avoid everything and whatnot, and he's like winning the fights, by the hair of his chin. No, dude, he has the talent to be that guy, but really what he's doing is he's being that guy. If you get what I'm saying. And he's fucking
Hundred
putting on
percent,
these
100%.
lame ass performances, bro. And it's like, dog, the sport, when I talk about the sport leaving people behind, dude, this is the stage for him to cut it out. And yeah, he's got to cut it out. But my boy, Creek Boys MMA, big fans, love your work, fellas. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that big time. My boy, Creek Boys, all the Creek Boys in the house. You know what I mean? But moving on. Hopefully, we see a good fight with Shakur. That's all I'm saying. Moving on to the co-main event, bro. This is one of the best co-main events. Daniel Dubois coming off of his crazy knockout against Anthony Joshua. Joseph Parker
3.0.
beating Anthony Joshua 3.0. Damn, dude. That was lame. I was going in, man. I was going in Joshua 3.0. And to be fair, bro, he just needed to slow down, bro. Like when he finally got himself into the fight, he was like, all right, boom. And then he threw the right hand and it was like, oh, it backed up Dubois. But then he just like rushed at him with his like throwing shots with his hands down, like throwing an uppercut from
18 feet away.
Freaking Zimbabwe, just
with not holding the phone. And even my wife, hold the phone. I was like, damn, dude, we need to get her in the corner. So this is ridiculous. But yeah, bro. So Daniel Dubois is coming off of the biggest win of his career. Joseph Parker announced for the IBF Heavyweight Championship. Joseph Parker finally getting the title shot again. And he's coming off of back-to-back wins against a great performance against Deontay Wilder, and then being able to beat Big Bang after coming off of the canvas twice. Great win in that. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to give it to Dubois, though, bro. After that last fight, come on now.
yeah.
Come on now.
Oh, the amount of confidence he got from that. Oh yeah, you got to give it to him. You got to give it
He's
to
going
him
to be
for
doing
sure.
the big D walk as his ring walk, bro. That's what he's going to be doing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, bro. And then, of course, the main event, we got the rematch between Beterbiev versus Bivol. I'll start by saying, man, I like the fact that they are rematching this fight because I feel like if it was a very close fight,
It was.
and I guess it's unfinished business at this point.
I think it comes down to me, like who makes the adjustment? Does Bill make the adjustment in his cardio to be able to last longer and be able to pop and move more and do that and take advantage of those gaps in the fight? Or is Beterbiev gonna be able to contain that, stop that, pin him against the ropes and shut that down with his, with walking forward and the way he moves, and things like that. If whoever can really make the small minor adjustments is really going to be the one that comes out, I think, with the victory. You know what I mean? Or and it also could look exactly the same way it looked last time. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, exactly, bro. I mean, it's one of those where now they've had 12 rounds to, really kind of get a read. Yeah, download the data on the other's fighting styles. So, Johan, what do you got?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to like go with the opposite, kind of strategy for Bivol. I think he's gonna have to be a little more aggressive in this fight, just because he was popping and moving in the first fight, and it was a really close fight. But I think the judges were looking at the ring control and kind of like the volume of better Biev more. Even though Bivol, he was sticking and moving and he had the more eye catching shots, it seemed like better Biev just was constantly throwing, and that's what kind of really gauged it. So I think Bivol needs to kind of sit down on his punches more. It's going to be hard against better Biev, who has
Yeah.
freaking right hand cemetery, left hand death. Man, it's like
You seen
it's
the
going to
size
be
of his
hard.
hands, bro? They're like this big, and like each of his knuckles are like calluses
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
Like it's hard. It's hard, but he's gonna have to do it, man. Like you're gonna have to, because I mean, you saw what popping and moving, kind of being trying to be a pure boxer, got you a close decision loss. But man, like to make that adjustment, you're gonna have to make sure that you have to stop you have to make better be of respect your punching power pretty much at this point, because he's just gonna constantly keep coming forward, and you're constantly gonna keep going back. So you're gonna have to just sit down a little bit.
yeah, for
I
sure.
think
And I
I,
think, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, like in those moments that Bivol had, he did gain respect. He got better be able to back up. I just don't think he could keep that pace up. I really do. I just don't believe that he had that. He could put that together as much as anything. I think that's why the backing up happens so much, because normally he's still on his toes the whole fight. And I think when you hit someone that can absorb your punching power, like the way Beterbiev did, and even though you can absorb punching power, well, that if you're the mover in that type of an exchange and fight, your cardio has to be even greater than a normal fight you would go into it, because he's just essentially taking power away from you. It would be like it's like a heavy bag that's just absorbing your punches, like a big thick heavy bag that's just taking it while you're moving around it, trying to knock a big heavy bag down, because that's the kind of how Better Beef is. We've never really seen him loopy. You know what I mean? Like kind of like I've never seen it. If somebody has, he might have been dropped, but he got right back up. I think, right? Was he
What,
dropped? Was he
Beterbiev?
ever hit the canvas? Yeah, has he ever hit the canvas?
Yeah, he has.
But he's popped back up right pretty easily. It's not like he was ever like kind of like out of it during it. So like I mean, he's a dude that just absorbs stuff. So I think the aggressiveness is good, but I think the aggressiveness needs to be timed, and he just needs to start to cut angles and make Better be moving in directions he's not really capable of doing because of how he stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. It's just, man, like I think pop, Pippin, pocket, was it hit throwing and moving is just going to be. I think just it's almost like the same formula he had in the first fight. So I think just kind of sitting down the punches is going to help a little bit more. But I do agree. Like he just has to cut angles, man. Catch him with shots that he's really not going to see. To really make Beterbiev respect him. It's just, man, like you saw how how he was blocking and stuff, and like, man, the damage that Beterbiev was able to do to Bivol's face, even though he wasn't catching with clear cut shots. It's crazy.
Bricks.
Those shots I think are what won Beterbiev the fight, because even though some of them are getting blocked, like if the ref or the judge can't really see, like if the judge is on this side and then what's his face, or like let's say he's blocking it from this side, the judge doesn't really have the best view of it, and then when the impact still hits, it's moving Bivol, so it look like those shots look like huge shots even if they're blocked. So that kind of stuff is going to score higher in the mind of the judges, and I think that's what it was, is really optics for Beterbiev. So and I agree, Johan, what you're saying, where it's like Bivol, like there was times where he was sitting down and like landing those counter shots and putting it to Beterbiev, but he's gonna have to do it a little bit more, and maybe even kind of try to get into the exchange with him. But as long as he kind of goes first, he'll have that upper hand, kind of cut the angle, get out, move, and then I think he'll be all right. But that's easier said than done with somebody like Beterbiev. But man, I mean, I will say I'm definitely excited for that matchup. and we got a couple of other matchups that are on the horizon. Couple stories here that I want to get into, and one of those is Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn will take place in April in London, as confirmed by Turkey Al Sheikh. And this is what I'll say about this. At first, when they announced this fight, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was, I was kind of like, why? Like, I get it, their dads fought, but other than that, like, it didn't make sense. You know what I mean? One guy was a 60 pounder that would fight at 168, the other one's a 147 pounder. It felt like a cash grab. Now, ever since, with the drama involved, Ben, obviously, he popped for Clomid, and people were saying, oh, maybe it was tainted, whatever, this and that. For those who don't know, Clomid it's basically a PCT. It's a post-cycle therapy type of drug. Like if you do steroids, you have to take post-cycle therapy drugs in order to re-regulate your hormones so you don't damage them for forever. Clomid's one of those type of drugs that you take on PCT. That's like the main one. So, for all of those, take your notes that are trying to get jacked on roids. Make sure you add Clomid to your PCT. But yeah, I mean, since then he's only fought once. He fought in Orlando, like randomly. They like threw him on the card just so he could get a fight, because even though I guess he won his appeal or whatever, the British Board of Boxing still wouldn't let him fight for whatever reason. They were having to go back and forth. I guess he could finally fight again. And yeah, since then, Eubank had lost to he got knocked out by Liam Smith, which is kind of embarrassing. He ended up getting it back. And then in his last fight, bro, I thought he looked good in his last fight. I thought he looked real good. And that's where this picture's at, where Conor Benn, now with the slick back hair, dude, he's like a villain now. So this fight, I'm down for, bro. I'm really down for this fight. Johan, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. About 2 years ago, man, it really didn't make sense when Conor Benn was a contender at welterweight, really picking up steam. It didn't make sense for him to go up in weight classes just for this, gimmick fight.
Yeah.
But now, like 2 years later, where like almost 2 years of his career was wasted, and he has like really no direction,
Mhm.
and really has no pull at 147.
It's like a fresh
man,
slate.
yeah, it's like a fresh slate, and it's like, okay, well, now this is your reintroduction to the masses for boxing, man. So like, yeah, I think this next this new announcement is a lot more fitting for the fight. I think this fight makes more sense for both guys. I mean, really, because Chris Eubank Jr. I don't think he's ever going to fight for a world title. I mean, I don't know what it is. This man just never, like, he's a weird dude. Like, even though he's ranked in the Ring Magazine top 5, it's like, bro, he's gonna take these like obscure.
He loves fighting. He loves fighting for the IBO. That's his favorite.
Yo, man.
He loves the IBO.
He just loves helping nonprofits. Honestly, that's kind of what he is, man. And like, bro,
He's a charitable guy.
Hey, man. And then with Conor Benn, bro, it's like, man, like all that drama, adds to this fight, man. Even him coming into that fight and talking Spanish next to Neymar, even though Neymar's Brazilian and only speaks Portuguese. It just adds to the fucking fight. But
So
man,
stupid, yeah.
I think this, what was the weight? 165? Was that the catch weight, or what is the weight?
The first catch weight was 157.
Which was insanity for Chris Eubank. Like, man,
Yeah,
looked like Skeletor out here.
Yeah, but it's like, I think now they're just gonna fight at 160, right?
Yeah, I think that's better. And this is a 2-fight agreement, so like depending on how good this first fight is, I could be down for another one, man. And storyline says the fabricated ones sold itself, but now that there's a lot of animosity and 2 years worth of buildup for this fight, I think it's must see.
Yeah, so the first fight was canceled in October of 2022, and now this fight is gonna be at 160, the middleweight limit. But yeah, like, I'm down for it, man. It felt like the first fight, like you said, it's kind of a gimmick. It was the beef was like, oh, their dads fought. Yeah, whatever. Now it's like, who cares about the fact that their dads fought? These guys are beefing, and they're beefing heavy, and they've been beefing heavy. So you could tell they really don't like each other. I'm down for this one. John, what do you think?
I agree. Anytime you get two Englishmen that want to talk trash to each other, that's just funny as hell. So I'm good
Yeah,
with it. Like they go at each other's throat. The way they talk trash is different than America. I mean, I love listening to when you have athletes or fighters talk trash over here, but when two of them go at it, it just makes me laugh harder because they're the way the choice of words and how that what they use for derogatory statements and shit like that. That's just funny to me, man. And that's great. So and the fact that Connor Ben, to me, like you said, truly looks like a super villain right here in this picture with his hair slicked back. Because like I always think of Connor Ben as a bald guy because he was bald for a while and he fought in Orlando bald. He didn't have hair in it, I don't think, or something.
yeah,
And so I always look at it, and I saw him there because he was one of Kimon fought Khalil Cole on that card, and I was cornering, and I just remember seeing him. And I'm like, I always look at him that way. So to see him like this is like, oh, he did the whole heel turn. He's a villain now. It's gonna be great. They're talking trash. I mean, he even got into it with Ryan Garcia at the Ring Awards. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
were
I
talking
saw
trash
that.
to each other. So it's like,
Ryan
all
Garcia
right,
wasn't
turn
even
heel.
phased.
No, he's like whatever. Like who knows? But I just think it's neat that like okay, I feel you. Turn villain, do it, be heel, whatever. If it gets you back in the scene, it gets you a fresh start. I don't think you're not a talented boxer, so I think it's worth it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm down for it. And I'm down for the press conferences. Hopefully they're good, and it's some more heated, wonderful trash talk. That'd be I like that. And then the weigh-ins are great, but yeah, I'm down for it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then speaking of Ryan Garcia, our next announcement looks like that rematch is finally going to be happening. Um, sources: Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia settles suit, target rematch. So
All right.
obviously, the Haneys have been saying like, oh, he needs to sign up for VADA. He needs to sign up for VADA. I don't know what, because I've been seeing some conflicting stories and whatnot. I feel I've seen what Garcia said, and he goes, "I don't want to do VADA. Let me do USADA or like any of these other ones. I'll do any of those." But and I agree with him, man. I feel like VADA is a conflict of interest. You got
Mhm.
Victor Conte's tentacles all over it. The guy's always been sketchy, and all of a sudden we're supposed to just believe he's not sketchy anymore. And
Yeah,
he
no.
was providing steroids for everybody, and then he's got his tentacles all over it. Ryan Garcia pops for Ostarine, and then, but also Victor Conte has a supplement company that sponsors Devin Haney. It is a conflict of interest. I don't like it. If I was Ryan Garcia, I wouldn't be down for it either. So hopefully they're okay with allowing USADA, whatnot. John, I don't know if you heard this story. I said it on our last podcast. Um, but while I was in New York and I was at the Fighter Hotel for the UFC, I'm getting my coffee and I'm putting in the sugars, right? And at the sugar station is Jeff Novinsky, the guy
Hmm.
who is like the top dude, who was the top dude of
Yep.
USADA. And now he's like the top dude of drug free sport for the UFC. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
super nerd, right? He knows everything. So I was just like, oh, how's it going? You're Jeff, right? He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. First thing I ask him, I go, hey, is Ryan Garcia innocent? He goes, absolutely 100%. He goes, I looked at the results myself. I talked to the lab people. He goes, I looked at all of it myself, and it's 100% tainted supplement. I go, yeah, thank you. I feel like what it is that the UFC fans, MMA fans, we're so accustomed to these tainted supplements popping up and all of that, to the point where they have a protocol now where they don't even announce it. They figure out if it was a tainted supplement first. In boxing, first of all, not all the fighters are even on a drug testing program. And then if somebody does pop for something small, it's like they've never seen it before. So, or they've seen it from people who actually were, abusing steroids. So I think it's an education thing just in boxing in general. But yeah, Jeff Novinsky told me straight up, like, it's it's tainted supplement. You know what I mean?
There was no other way for it to be. It just didn't make any other sense. Devin Haney got his ass whooped. Ryan Garcia beat his ass. That's what happened. You got assaulted in a ring, but you signed up to get assaulted. So I don't want to hear that nonsense. My
Yeah,
whole thing about this whole thing is, you know who didn't sign up to get assaulted? That fair person that you punched, motherfucker. He didn't sign up to get
exactly,
assaulted. And you
exactly.
couldn't even drop him. And
On
he
a
fought
sneak
three of your
punch.
friends on a sneak punch, and he fought three of your friends. So as far as I'm concerned, Devin Haney can suck a big one. He can go learn to be a better person and get over it. And I hope Ryan Garcia flatlines him this time if they do fight. God, it just looks like a punchable face too, doesn't it?
He's the
I know
biggest
I have a
dork in
punchable
boxing. Look at this
biggest
story.
dork.
Look at this story, and I think this is one of the reasons why he's even open to doing the rematch now, is because Devin Haney wants a lot of money for comeback. He claims he is undefeated as well. Eddie Hearn reveals Devin Haney not willing to take 500K to 1 million for a tune-up fight, so he has to go wherever someone is willing to pay him what he's asking, which could be BLK Prime. Devin Haney talks crap about Mayweather, but he's doing the same things. The student learned from the teacher. So remember this the tune-up won't be a hard fight. It will be an easy one with big money for Devin. Haney declined Teofimo recently. Dude expects big bucks for a cab. And that's what it is, bro. I mean, first of all, your stock has completely dropped. I mean, everybody thought that you lost against Lomachenko. He fought Prograis. He cheated against Prograis with the rehydration, but that was behind the scenes, not on the official scale where it shows everybody. So he cheated. So he's a hypocrite on that. Then that pay-per-view completely flopped because Devin has, even after the Lomachenko fight, his stock went down. Then he fights Ryan because there's no other fight for him to fight. That's a big one. He gets completely embarrassed, goes through all of this, and then when they did the Sandor Martin purse bids, it showed his true worth as a fighter, and he didn't like it. So now even Eddie Hearn's like, bro, I'm your guy, but we're not paying you that type of money. Like, you don't have any value anymore. So I think finally maybe somebody's gotten into his head, or now he's finally seeing like nobody's gonna pay for him. So that must be the reason why they're finally open to this Ryan Garcia rematch. But they're saying Vada. Vada's not happening. And your career's not happening if you don't make that rematch. That's all you got.
Oh yeah, Ryan Garcia is the only money fight for him. The only money fight that he's gonna have. And it's gonna be because Ryan Garcia, not because of him.
Bro, the fact that BLK Prime is the only option right now should tell you how drastically bad his career has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I mean, yeah, it's terrible. So that's gonna be what it is. And then the other thing too, bro, is imagine if Ryan now with this whole situation goes, you know what? Hey, I'm actually gonna take this fight like seriously because I hear that he was saying like, oh yeah, I was trolling this and that, blah blah blah. But in a way, like when you saw his performance, other than him just beating up Devin, like he wasn't really doing much in the rounds that Devin won is because Ryan didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And
You could tell he was taking breaks. You could tell he was
yeah,
taking breaks.
yeah. So it's one of those where I feel like if he really committed himself to it and was like, you know what, I'm really gonna hurt this guy now, we could see a much greater ass whooping than we did in the first
Oh
fight.
yeah,
And I would
for
love
sure.
that. If Devin Haney got flatlined and his career just ended, that would be chef's kiss on 2025. That would be
A little
lovely.
salt on top of it.
I would
A
love
little
it.
sprinkle.
But yeah, and
Gentlemen,
then what, you gotta go?
I'm sorry guys. I gotta get up real super early. My first client is 6 a.m. and I gotta get up by like 5:15. So
That's all right. We're going into
it's,
the last story of the night. So we'll catch you later,
all right.
brother.
Yes, sir. And this fight, if it happens, that's a crazy fight. That's nuts. Just
We'll
nuts.
have plenty of
Just
time to
nuts.
talk about it.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great night, guys. Fellas, awesome job. Hey, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow my boys. Let's get it. Foxy Bananas, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. But yeah, man. So we got this one, Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford fight. Now that I think about it, bro, I mean, while it's still cooking up, and I'm hearing rumors of September and whatnot, I think maybe we should even leave the listeners on a, on a cliffhanger on this one. Not even talk about it until the next show.
Honestly, I'm down with it because I mean, let's think about it, man. Canelo recently met with Turkey at the Ring Magazine Awards. Who knows how much business is getting done in London, bro?
Bro. So what I was saying before about how like everybody's going over to Turkey. Really, unless you go over to Riyadh season, you're going to be left behind. There's only, I guess, two people right now that can kind of not do that, and it is Tank and Canelo. But now we're seeing Tank's kind of that well has run dry. Tank can't really do that. Canelo, I feel like, still can, but his well's running dry too. I mean, he fought Munguia, which nobody asked for. He fought Berlanga, nobody asked for. They had to create a whole thing about that. They had to use Berlanga's heritage as a way to sell the fight, even though the guy don't even speak Spanish.
Bro,
Freaking yeah. So essentially, unless he was going to go back to PBC and fight Benavidez, which I guess he's not going to do.
the thing is, I'll tell you this right now. If Canelo goes to, goes with Riyadh season, I mean, Gervonta Tank Davis is left in the dust. Like he's going to be left behind because
Yeah,
I think the only reason there's so much pull for Gervonta is because Canelo's also not with Riyadh season. The biggest cash cow is
yeah.
not playing ball. But if he plays ball, Gervonta has no pull. Gervonta has
Negative.
very little. He has negative pull right now. He'll have
He's
even
gonna have
less.
to. He's gonna have to run down the roster of Pro Box.
Bro, he's gonna go to the new facility, and that's gonna be his home base from now on.
Yeah, legit. We're gonna see him local. Exactly. But I mean, it could happen for Canelo. You know what I mean? He's got a great relationship with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's obviously in there tight. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. They're talking about this fight for September. But so then who's he gonna fight in May?
William Skull,
That's what I was thinking.
bro.
That's what I was thinking,
Bro,
bro.
we already know that he's gonna fight Cinco de Mayo and then Mexican Independence Day. That's just the Canelo schedule. Like if he ever fights outside of that, he's fighting some can, and Cinco de Mayo he's probably gonna fight a can. I mean, I don't think I think William Skull's last performance was like voted like worst fight of the year. Like
Yeah, I
I'm like
remember you were telling me about it because that was on the same night that we watched this new
Murtazalia.
fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
and yeah. So I mean, he won the super middleweight title. He's a world champion now, but they fought in Germany too.
Bro, I forgot. I was telling my buddy, I was like, bro, I lost an interview because of that fight. Because freaking Shishkin was gonna call out Canelo on my freaking on my interview after if he won that fight, and William Skull not only did he give me a boring fight, but he made me lose an interview.
Damn, that's how he gets you, bro.
Yeah, man. I
But
hope he gets
yeah, man. I mean, it's one of those where at least they can sell it as Canelo becoming undisputed,
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it.
that's literally it because literally nothing about Williams. It sounds bad, but nothing outside of being a world champion is exciting about William Skull. Like no pull, doesn't have punching power. Is not really like really not like an exciting style to watch. So like, and Canelo hasn't been that exciting either. Like he'll get
He
a
just
knockdown,
cruises.
bro. He'll get a knockdown in like the third or fourth round, and then just straight.
Canelo's not even going to train for that fight.
No, bro.
He's just gonna go into the gym. He's gonna hit the aqua teardrop bag. He's gonna go wah 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 wah, and then he's gonna go on the pads with Eddie and go wah wah. He's gonna throw that uppercut hook. You know what I mean? Uppercut hook, right hand. Yeah, like you know what he's gonna do. So he's gonna spar Frank Martin. and then with the big ass headgear with the thing that goes across the nose, and that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna be like, all right, I'm done. I'll go home, and yeah, and then he's gonna go in there and he's gonna whip Frank Skull's ass or William Skull's ass. So, and you know what I like about that fight though? What I like is that there's gonna be people talking shit about it because it's gonna create more of a Canelo getting hated, right? Like people are gonna be like, oh yeah, people start turning on Canelo. That way, if Benavidez wins versus
Morel.
right? Benavidez wins versus Morel, and Canelo just decides, hey, I'll give you the fight. You got to come down to 168 again, drain you back down, assuming, they don't rematch that fight. And assuming, like, let's say if Bivol wins versus Better Beef and they run a trilogy. But now you got this Crawford thing in the mix, so it kind of messes up the timelines for everything. We'll see. But I guess we'll get to that on the next episode. Anything else you got?
Not really. I think we pinpointed pretty much every single big fight news. I do want to say though, Turkey Al Sheikh making the Ring magazine credible again is probably one of the best things for boxing, bro, because for the longest time, Oscar De La Hoya made that Ring magazine website look like an 8-bit 1980s JPEG. And the fact that the rollout of the Ring magazine from December to like the awards to now, like bringing back the hard copies of the magazines, man. Making it prestigious with the award show, having real credibility. It really truly feels like the Bible of boxing now.
Yeah, it's definitely back, and the fact that they'll be able to put some respect on that world title. That is the world title. If you're the Ring Magazine champ, you are the champion. So hopefully it's going to take, I guess, kind of like a media blitz to basically get everybody on board to be like, yeah, if you're the Ring Magazine champ, and then everyone will kind of parrot that. And, oh, yeah, he's the real champ now. So, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? And then we can kind of push the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO kind of on that under tier where it's like, all right, you're a world champion, but you're not the champion of the world. And that's really what it needs to be. You could still have all those other belts, but they're essentially trophies. And you can call yourself a world champion, but that Ring Magazine title will be the equivalent of like the UFC belt in the UFC.
Yeah, and if you look at the rankings of the Ring Magazine, they don't even acknowledge, like, unless you go to like the organization rankings. If you go to the Ring Magazine rankings, they're not acknowledging the champions like on the little bios. Because it's just because, dude, like, man, they're really trying to prove that like the Ring is the top prize, and I mean rightfully so, bro. I mean, think about the lineage. I mean, it's literally the lineal champion, bro. Like,
that's the belt Rocky had.
I mean, yeah, bro. Who doesn't want the belt Rocky Balboa had, bro? Eating raw eggs every morning, bro. Come on.
Exactly. So, yeah, we're back at it finally in boxing. 2025 is going to be great. January's a little slow, but it's all good. February's going to heat up, and then quarter one's going to look good. Quarter two's going to look good, and yeah, we're going to have many more shows for everybody. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button. And then get ready for the next show. Until then, we are out.
Are you ready for the main event?
2 hits. They hitting you, you hitting the floor.